Hello. This week we observed Trinity Sunday. I have to thank Barbara for her reflection on the Gospel. She really did give us a message of encouragement. As you know, we have a midweek reflection each Wednesday, and next week we'll be beginning a series of reflections on St. Paul's letter to the church in Rome. But this week I wanted to reflect a little bit further on the Trinity and what it means for us as Christians. Preachers often try to dodge Trinity Sunday and get someone else to preach, as Barbara kindly preached for me this week, because the Trinity is seen as one of those things that even highly educated people can't really understand, something which is just too difficult to explain. It's an uncrackable code. It's like some sort of quantum physics, or even worse than trying to explain the offside rule in a football match. But being a Christian isn't meant to be a code that we crack. It's not meant to be a tricky intellectual puzzle which can only be solved by people with theology degrees. Christianity, the way of Christ, is meant to be a way of life open to all, the greatest and the least, a path of joy, a well of living water. The first disciples were captivated by a life which was animated by the power of God's love and truth. They weren't captivated by a sophisticated explanation of the nature of the God who is three in one. So this week, instead of me trying to explain the doctrine of the Trinity, I want to look at the Trinity with a little help from Rublev, the painter of a beautiful icon which many of us are familiar with. I'm not going to try to explain the Trinity any more than I would try to explain the mystery of God's love in any other respect. What is most important is not that we scientifically describe the Holy Trinity, but that we experience the Trinity and delight in the Trinity and know the Trinity. The Father has sent the Holy Spirit to work in our hearts so that we can recognise the love and power of Jesus, the Son. It's all about invitation. It's all about the community of the Trinity reaching out to open and touch the believer's heart. Now, the Trinity is sometimes described as a dance. We're invited to join, and Paul Wilcox spoke to us about that the other day. And it's sometimes described as a community of love and relationship. So here's our picture. You're probably familiar with this picture. It's called Rublev's Trinity. It's modelled around the story of Abram feeding visitors, angels, by the oaks of Mamre in the book of Genesis. So it's set in this place of hospitality where food is on the table. But the angels haven't started eating. Someone is missing. The angels are depicted as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and they're connected by their divinity. The Father on the left in gold, the sign of majesty. The Son in the middle, draped in blue, the signs of sea and sky brought together. The Spirit on the right in green, the colour of creation and growth and life. But the icon has a space at the front, at this rectangular table, as though the three were waiting for another to join them. Now, if you look at the front of the table, you'll see there is a little rectangular shape. When art historians examined the icon carefully, they found little traces of glue on that rectangle, and they formed a theory that it must have had, of all things, a mirror glued onto it. So imagine you approach this icon, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. You see that there is room for another at the table. You move towards the icon to see it more clearly, and what do you see? The reflection of your own eyes, your own face, invited to sit at the divine table. the person they are so politely waiting for is you. You are invited in to become part of this community, this relationship. God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit wait for you, wanting to share their meal with you. This is the essence of the Trinity, a dynamic, invitational relationship of hospitality, which is always open to our approach. This week, as we consider the Holy Trinity, I wonder what God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit is inviting you to step into. I wonder what is waiting on that table for you to share with them. When God calls us, it's always into a greater certainty of the love that made us, a greater trust in the one who brings us life, a greater closeness to the one who died and rose for us. At the moment, we're all facing change. And for some of us, the changes may be relatively modest. For others, there is a huge disruption, loss of those we love, or loss of economic security, or intense loneliness and isolation. What a joy then, to be invited to sit down at the table of the one who loves us and longs to welcome and feed us, to hear us, to nourish us with what we most need. I invite you to spend some time this week reflecting not on how the Trinity works, but on what our three-in-one God is seeking to do and be in your life, and what you might find simply by sitting down at the table. Bless you.